Hi, welcome back to creating a basic MVC framework with PHP. So this is part 7, I'm going to look at routing it all together. So sorry it's took me so long to make this video. I've been super busy with college and work and whatever. I've been lazy as well, but mainly busy. I noticed a lot of you contacted me about making this video and used other means, but the best way to get in touch with me really is the Twitter handle. I don't check YouTube that often, or GitHub really, I don't check that much. So if you need anything, Twitter handle. Anyway, right, so pointless messing about, let's get into it. So we're going to make a new router class to route everything that we get from the request. So I added these methods to get the control of the method and the arguments last time. So let's create a new class in. Class router. And our router is going to need just one method. I'm going to make it static because there's not much need instantiating the router at this stage. If you wanted to add stuff like rewrites and whatever, then maybe you could instantiate it, but I'll just do a static method. Oops. This is going to be called route. And it's going to need the request, obviously, to get all the stuff. So let's type in for a request object. Okay. Let's go back to our index.php and we'll just change it now. So we'll do router, route, we'll do new request. Let's get rid of all that, we don't need it. Okay. So what we're going to do is we want to accept all the stuff that comes after it, and route it. What's going on here? Windows loading stuff again. And so let's make a new variable called controller. We'll call the get controller method. So we'll do request get controller, and we'll append to that controller. Let's do the same for method. And arguments. Some people like to call the method, they like to call it action. So, I don't know, I like method, but who cares really? Right, so what we want to do is, we want to check if the controller exists. So let's make control file equals, we made a site path variable, won't I? So site path, and we'll go to controls directory, and then controller. Let's append.php to that as well. Let's check if it's readable. You can do file exists, but is readable is better because it checks if it's readable as well. So if it is readable, we'll do this. So we'll just echo yay, I don't know. Otherwise, we won't do anything yet. Okay, so obviously that's the index, so let's do something called test, I don't know. That's not readable. Let's just quickly create a test controller. We'll just pre-out, we'll just do method for the time being. It's not really necessary, is it? So it's going to say yay, but it's not going to do anything because we're not calling the method. So let's require the controller. Right, so now we need to check if we can call the method, to see if there is one. So for that I'm going to do a ternary operator. We're going to fall back to index, just in case there isn't one. So to check if we can call the method, we're going to do is callable. Now this usually accepts a function name, however, because we're working with objects, it needs an array of the object and the method name. So to do that we're going to do controller. Actually this is wrong. we need to instantiate the controller, otherwise we're going to call it statically, and that's obviously not right. So let's pre-out the method as well, just to check. If that's all working. Is that 1? Oh, I forgot to put method there. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so it's fall back to index. So let's just put in something, I don't know, peas. I don't know. Just going to fall back to index because we don't have a we don't have a peas method. Let's lick function peas. Daft name for the method. Actually, I should have done that. I'll just do that again. Let's test that now. Cool. So now we've got the method. So let's call the method. Let's just get rid of all this. So we're going to do call underscore user underscore func. Again, this needs an array because we're working with objects. So controller method. Okay, so that's test controller peas. Right, what if we put, I don't know, peanuts? It's going to fall back to index. Okay, so that's all working, whatever. However, now we need to take into account for arguments. So let's just pre-func underscore get underscore args. That's obviously that's not going to get any arguments yet because we're not passed them. I'll just put all that in. So it's got an empty array, really it should be full of all that. So what we want to do is, in the router, before this we better do if let's check what this is returning. If it's not empty, then we're going to do this, otherwise we'll do that. So if it's empty, then we'll just do call user func array instead of user func. And that's going to need the args. Let's test if that's all working. Cool. Actually, is that right? No, that's not right at all, is it? Let's just check the request, because that does. Could be something wrong here. Missed the array off, haven't I? Okay, that's fine now. Let's call user func array if we have arguments. Otherwise, when we don't have arguments, we'll do that. So let's just get rid of all the arguments, make sure it's all fine. Cool. Right, but what happens if we do tests? Obviously nothing, so really we need some sort of way to handle 404s. So if we get here, then obviously it's fine. So we'll just return that. Otherwise, we'll just throw a new exception. This is probably not the best way to handle it, but you could create your own sort of 404 exception or something. I don't know. But we'll just do it for this episode. We'll do it this way. Maybe I'll do something like that. Like, some of the time 404 not found. New WAMP's going to give me some crazy orange error saying and caught exception. So in here we'll just do try. Again, this is probably not a good idea. Because, you know, say some other sort of, I don't know, PDO throws an exception, and you never know, you know, what the message of that could be. So when we call the exception, let's create an error controller as well. So we'll do we have to do index because of the abstract, but we'll leave that blank. What should we call this method? I don't know. Error message equals. We'll just do no information about the error, you know, as a default. And we'll just do pre-message. You could probably, you know, make views and all that sort of stuff, but obviously it's out of the scope of this. I'm sure that you can handle that. So if we do catch an error, then we're going to need to create a new controller. Probably want to get rid of that. Actually, we'll just change that to error controller. You could probably even use the router to route it actually, but we'll just do it like this. Controller. What's the method called again? Error. Self-explanatory, eh? E get message. Cool. So 404 not found. We could probably add to that. Let's just make it a bit nicer. Just put request get controller. For test not found. Otherwise, if we have test, we've got that. Okay, so that's the router fully working now. Okay, what I want to just say quickly is this. You probably shouldn't use this framework as it is. You know, you could add a lot more to it. You know, like security maybe. The router could have some SPL in there, some reflection. You know, to make sure that it is a descendant of base control and whatever. You know, that a lot of improvements could be made to this framework, but it does show you how to create a framework. Maybe I could make some videos about some more tips. I don't know. If that's something that you'd like to see, just leave a comment or hit me up on Twitter. So thanks for bearing with the series, and see you next time.